Hi, I'm Sydney with customer support at Crowd Farming, and I'm here with Amelia, who works in our logistics team and is here to answer all the questions I get with regard to CrowdLog.
Exactly. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I'm so excited to hear about all the projects with CrowdLog. My first question is, what was the impetus of CrowdLog? What led into the idea for logistics center for crowd farming?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it's important to remember that the goal for crowd farming is to create the most sustainable and just supply chain possible, right? And so by doing that, we ask ourselves a question: what do our farmers need? What services do our farmers need to be able to sell directly to the consumer? And so I think that's where the idea for the platform was kind of born. So a space where farmers could, sell their produce directly to consumers. And then the marketing service was added on, payment service, customer service that you know very well. And so CrowdLog now is coming in to kind of do the packaging and preparation of the boxes service. So it's a service that's actually really important because a lot of farmers don't necessarily have the resources to do direct sales on site, right? Because it actually means you have to prepare each box individually, and that means you need a certain infrastructure, staff, materials, loads of different things. And so by kind of taking over that service, we allow more farmers to join us, and we kind of make sure that they don't need to invest as much financially as they would in other circumstances. So for example, the way that crowd farming closes their boxes is with a specific sticky tape. But this specific sticky tape is sustainable, and it's a little bit special. And so basically the machine that makes this is actually worth at 1,500 euros. So we were noticing that neighboring farmers each had to invest in one of these machines, and that it actually made more sense to just centralize that, packaging service, because it means, it just didn't make sense, right?
It's more efficient way to...
Exactly.
And it supports the farmers as well.
Exactly.
With a lot of these processes.
Yeah. And it kind of helps on both sides, right? Because the farmers have to invest a lot less financially, and the consumers can then actually buy produce at a cheaper price, right? Because we've already cut some costs there. So I think that's one of the main reasons that CrowdLog was sort of thought of for.
It's very multifaceted, I feel like. I mean, I'm still a little bit new, but it seems like crowd farming does a great job of supporting farmers in many different ways. And I know that one of our big things is efficiency.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely see that in this way.
Yeah. And I think what's always fun to remember is that crowd farming was built and created by farmers, so they really know how to answer those questions of what services the farmers need, because they themselves need those services. So I think it will have a really big impact, and hopefully we'll see some really positive results.
Awesome. And so what makes CrowdLog different or more innovative?
Yeah, good question. I think that the idea for CrowdLog is that it's not somewhere where we're stocking or warehousing the produce. So the idea is really to keep that that kind of goal of having the shortest transit time as possible. So crowd farming's kind of important or interesting fact is that when you're purchasing, the fruit is actually still hanging from the tree. So the idea is to, once you've clicked that button, we start that logistic journey, and CrowdLog is just going to be a step in that journey where, the fruit won't arrive and then be stored in cold rooms for months on end. They arrive and they're immediately manipulated, packaged, and sent off. So I think it's a bit different in that sense. We don't stock anything, we stock cardboard, but we don't stock produce.
So it's interesting because that kind of ties into my next question, which is, does CrowdLog, does it add any extra time on? How does it tie into our philosophy of directly from the farm to the table?
Yeah, so that's a question I think you probably got a lot of times, right? And so I think the important thing is that CrowdLog is in a really strategic place in Valencia, where a lot of our farmers are already based. So taking that time away from the farmers of preparing the packages cuts some time off as well. And then what we do is that, for example, so once a purchase is made and once the shipments are organized, the farmers will harvest Tuesday morning, for example, and then send the produce directly to CrowdLog. And that same Tuesday, all the fruit will be packaged and sent out. So that kind of goes in with the idea of not storing anything. Of course, the farmers that are a bit further away, for example, the mangoes from Malaga, are, coming in on a Tuesday, and then they'll be packaged on Wednesday and sent out on Thursday. But in that case, those 800 kilometers of their journey from Malaga to Valencia has already been done. So it can add a day or two, but it's really not a huge impact in that sense.
We've been getting a lot of mixed box orders. Can you tell me a little bit about how CrowdLog manages those and how it differs from regular orders?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like a really exciting thing that we've launched, right? That now you can order mixed boxes. And the idea was that I think a lot of feedback that we got from clients was that the difference with crowd farming is that you're ordering really big quantities. So if you went to the supermarket to buy a mango, you'd buy maybe like 1 or 2 mangoes. But if you purchase through crowd farming, you're getting like 5 kilos of mangoes in one go. So the idea is to offer different fruits from different farmers in that same box. And the way we do that to make sure it kind of stays in line with all of our philosophy of, short transit times and no storage and such, is that we only offer mixed boxes for produce that are grown in the same area and that also are ripening at the same time. So you can get, avocados and mangoes, but you can't necessarily get all combinations of the fruit that we offer. Right?
So when a box is returned, it gets donated to an initiative or a charity. Can you talk a bit about how CrowdLog manages that?
Yeah, of course.
And who you work with as well.
Yeah. So I think obviously we try to make sure that happens as less often as possible, but it still occasionally happens because nothing is ever perfect, right? But we already have a sort of IT system in place that will verify all of the addresses when the purchase is made to kind of make sure that there are no mistakes, just like human errors and such. And we also have that cross-check with our transport companies that we work with, just to kind of limit as much as possible any waste created by delivery issues or address issues, right? When it does happen, because obviously occasionally it does happen, we work with local associations and organizations, usually food banks. And so, for example, we work with what we call the Resto du Cœur in France and different ones in Germany, and all of the perishable produce, so fruits and vegetables and such, will be donated to them. And then the non-perishables are stored in a local warehouse until we have enough produce to organize a shipment to return it back to CrowdLog, and in some cases back to the farmer directly to see if we can still make use of it. And so yeah, it won't be wasted.
So what challenges is CrowdLog facing? What are some obstacles that you guys are currently overcoming?
Yeah, loads, so many different ones. But that's what makes it fun and exciting as well. I think that one of our challenges is kind of understanding and estimating our production capacity, to know, how many farmers we can actually provide this service to. And then, just sort of making sure that the packaging is appropriate for each different product that we're working with. So that's something that's quite difficult because, for example, blueberries that we're sending right now need a lot more protection during their transit time than oranges do, for example. So just kind of tailoring packaging to the product's needs is a big challenge as well. And also just trying to reduce waste as much as possible and be as innovative as possible as well. So actually a really funny anecdote of something that happened a while back is that there was a truck in Valencia that was transporting our oranges that actually tipped over at a roundabout. So obviously this happens almost never, but it kind of got us thinking, how can we use this produce that's no longer fit for shipment in different ways? And from there, the idea was born to make jams and chutneys and purees with these products, right? So that's obviously a huge logistical challenge amongst so many others. And it's also a way to just make sure that we're still always moving forward. And so I think those are some of the main challenges, as well as, transmitting, how can we transmit the values and the ideas of crowd farming as much as possible, and expand the reach as well, because obviously we work with a lot of farmers in Spain and in Italy, and it would be really exciting to expand that to other countries. We work also with farmers in France and Germany, but kind of expand that reach, I think, is a big challenge for us as well.
I'm really excited for the chutney. I heard about it in one of the meetings and I was like, oh my God, this is about to be my favorite product.
Yeah, it's super delicious.
Well, thank you for allowing me to interview you. I'm so excited that we finally met because I've been seeing you. I've been seeing your name pop up in messages, and it's really funny that we actually haven't met in person until today. Yeah. But I'm so thrilled to see all the changes with CrowdLog, and we can expect great things.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. And so nice to meet you as well, finally.
All right.
Bye everyone.